One of our heart's desires is to empower women because we fuel off each other and we empower each other. Women, we want to see women be business women. We want to see them own their own space and have that autonomy. We want them to be their own bosses in whatever way they want to be. We understand it. It's okay to be a mother. It's okay to be a wife, and it's okay to be a boss. And it's okay to own all that and still be you.
As business women, as CEOs, as founders, we often feel like we have to be in a silo because we're so different than our male counterparts. One of our messages with iWomen is that you don't have to look like Sonya. You don't have to look like me. How you identify as a woman is your own thing, and that's very important.
Right.
You do you, and then we'll come together as a community.
Hey guys, welcome to the 13th episode of the Story Project podcast. I am your host, Joanna Scott, and I'm so excited to have a conversation with these ladies today. Before I welcome them, let me tell you a little bit about who they are. With over 40 years of combined experience within the dental industry as business owners, key opinion leaders, speakers, and clinicians, Sonya Dunbar and Melissa Turner have joined together to help the industry think outside the box when it comes to women in the workplace, mindset, and delivering dental care through mobile dentistry and teledentistry. Co-founders of the annual Denobi Awards, which are freaking awesome, a red carpet gala, and awards program honoring dentistry's unsung heroes from around the world, Sonya and Melissa are known to innovate and dream big. With an energy and passion like dentistry has never before seen, together they are ushering in the future of dentistry, and they are having so much fun doing it. Welcome, ladies, to the podcast.
Thank you.
Hello, Joanna.
This is so fun to have you here because normally this is a video-driven podcast, but normally it's on Zoom. So this is a whole different vibe. I'm already feeling your energy here in this cool podcast recording studio.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, thanks for taking the time. This is super special. You also, I have to mention, are my very first women registered dental hygienist. So come on, RDH crowd. Yeah. Every other has been, actually almost all my guests have been women, except I let one guy in.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
He slid in under the radar.
He did. I'm almost considering turning this into just women dental professional podcast, so I may do that. But we met for the first time, I believe, at a Smiles at Sea cruise with Elijah Desmond back in 2019. Isn't that right?
Yeah. Sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems like so long ago, pre-COVID. Yeah.
And you guys stood out from the crowd for sure. I mean, you guys together are quite the combo. Yeah. So, Josh and I had to meet you, and it was so fun connecting. And then we had you out for your own solo production session last year,
amazing.
Which you killed. You're a natural. And then we were also sponsors at your conference, which was so amazing to see you guys on stage, in your element. I mean, yeah, both of these ladies can speak. And when they're together, they're like a dynamic duo on stage.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
It's pretty awesome. Okay, let's segue. I always like to ask some fun questions just to help our audience get to know you and some fun stuff about you before we dive into the real heart of the conversation. So, Melissa.
Yes.
Short answer, but why do you love being a woman?
You know what? I love being a woman, especially right now in my life, because I have two daughters. They're 8 and 6, Maggie and Pepper. Hi, Maggie and Pepper. They're going to watch this because they always do. But it's for me right now, being a woman is about building a legacy for them where they can thrive no matter who they are, as they grow up and as in the coming years, as we figure out who they are and their personalities even more. So I think for me, that's the most important thing right now is my kids and building a world in which they can thrive as a woman, whatever that means to them.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that so much. I have a girl too, so I get that.
You get that.
Sonya, why do you love wearing bright, bold, just colors? Tell us about that.
Well, I'm an avid believer of what's on the inside should reflect the outside. And the inside of me is bright, bold, and colorful. And you never know what you're going to get. I'm like a Cracker Jack box. When you open it up, you never know what the prize is. And for those who don't know what a Cracker Jack box is, it was a box of caramel popcorn, and in the bottom of it was always a prize. And that's how I am. You never know what you're going to get. But what you're going to get is energy, positivity, and a smile.
That's right.
So what you see reflected on the outside is on the inside.
Love that.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Melissa, when do you feel the most empowered or sexy?
Oh, empowered or sexy. Now, are we taking those two together or separately? Because, I mean, it's a whole different ballgame.
I know. You can actually, okay, when do you feel the most sexy?
You know, I feel the most sexy. This might come across weird, but on stage. I feel empowered and sexy on stage.
Yeah.
Because it's where I'm supposed to be. When I'm with you on stage, Sonya, it is just an amazing feeling. When I'm by myself on stage. It's a privilege to be able to speak to a community, to an audience. And it's just this amazing moment where, you know, from little on up, I always knew that I was going to be on stage. And so it was just a matter of getting there and finding the right storyline to go with, you know, whatever I'm presenting or talking about on stage.
Yeah.
So I think that would combine both empower and sexy.
Right.
Yeah.
I think so.
That's amazing. What do you do to unwind? Like, what's the best way that you, like, show yourself self-care?
Wow. So many ways that I show myself self-care, but if I had to pick one, it would be just when I'm alone. When I'm alone by myself, just in my own thoughts, just taking it in. It's mostly early in the morning when I'm just taking it in, getting set for my day, and I begin to process and manifest what my day is going to be. Every morning, I manifest what I want my day to be. I see it in my mind. Now, things don't always turn out that way, but I plan it. I smell the environment I'm going into. I feel how I'm going to feel when I walk through a door, and I always make it positive. I go into the theater of my mind, and I create my own space. So things really, if it kind of catches me off guard, I can bring myself back to how I'm supposed to feel and reset. So I unwind all day throughout the day, if that makes sense.
I love that. I'm such a fan of solitude too. And I think you have to start your day that way. That's awesome. Okay, let's jump into the heart of this conversation. So I'm gonna go back and forth between you guys because I want to make sure we get to hear from both of you. Melissa, how did you guys meet? Tell us just kind of like, I know I've heard it before, but I love this story, and you know, you can just make it like, give us like the short, brief version. But how did you guys first connect?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So the running story.
The running story
is we met online, right? And all the good places online. But you know, back when Facebook groups were really starting to hit it big, I had started Mobile Dentistry, and it was an amazing time to bring together dental clinicians who wanted more than just the norm. The go-getters, the ones who wanted to go and do something different and to really reach their patients no matter where they were. And so pulled together this community. And before this, I don't think there was ever a community like it who was helping support this type of clinician. And so I remember Sonya joining, because at that point it was small, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to see whoever, you know, I'm going to get to know anybody who comes through this Facebook group. And so Sonya joins, and it was right when she was starting to kind of market the geriatric tooth fairy, which is her, you know, alter ego, really. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I've got to meet her. And then I get this phone call from her. So Sonya, you want to pick it up from here?
Well, really, I was on there, and you said something about a conference. You said we need a mobile dental conference, and I texted in there. I said, well, I'm trying to start a mobile dental conference, and then that's when the phone call. You was like, well, let's connect, and we just started connecting. You and Melissa started saying, listen, I'm a mother. My children are my priority, but this is something that I want to do. And I was like, well, you know, I'm empty nester, so we can kind of balance it out. So at that point, we started juggling how it would look, and we never dreamed it would look like this. We were thinking something very small scale, a few hygienists and a dentist in a room, and maybe 30 people, but it was just mega.
Yeah.
You know, when our energies come together and our ideas, it just grew past whatever we could think.
So is that how your business partnership began? Did it revolve around mobile and teledentistry? Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Because you guys have done so much more even beyond that.
Absolutely.
Founded the Denobi Awards, and then a new brand that we're going to talk about in just a minute. So tell us about this new brand, iWoman. Where did it get its name? What's the heart and soul behind this new endeavor?
Sonya, you start this one. I want you to start this one.
Well, Melissa and I are really, one of our heart's desires is to empower women, because we fuel off each other and we empower each other. And, you know, we just knew how important it was to have that person to have your back. And once our relationship began to develop more and more, we other women started coming around us. And so we were like, oh, well, let's empower women. We want to see women be business women. We want to see them own their own space and have that autonomy. We want them to be their own bosses in whatever way they want to be. We understand it. It's okay to be a mother. It's okay to be a wife. And it's okay to be a boss. And it's okay to own all that and still be you. And that's something that we have. And this is what makes us so unique. We work together, but we both have our own autonomy, and we cheer for each other. We want women to come together so we can all cheer for each other. We want to stand up and clap for each other and cheer each other on and encourage them. There's no space for jealousy, envy, or strife because there's room enough for all of us at the table. And that's something that Melissa and I want to show. What do you think? I Woman Roar.
I Woman, there you go. Yeah, and I think so often in dentistry and even outside of dentistry, as business women, as CEOs, as founders, we often feel like we have to be in a silo because we're so different than our male counterparts. We're struggling, we're trying to survive, right? That kind of a thing. And so to have a business partner as amazing as Sonya, we have each other's backs, and it allows it not to be easier per se, but we have that support already. And so now we want to spread, plant the seeds and help support other women like yourself, really, Joanna, and others who feel maybe alone or just feel that need to have support as a woman in business. And that's the heart and soul. We're lucky. We have each other. We can rely on each other. I can go to her if something just didn't feel right in a conversation. Sonya, how'd you take that? We just work that out. And I think I Woman is the branching, the fruit of this kind of relationship. And, it's very important, a lot of times, Sonya and I are opposites, right? We're stark opposites. But more often than not, I think we're very similar too. And I think one of our messages with I Woman is that you don't have to look like Sonya. You don't have to look like me. How you identify as a woman is your own thing. And that's very important. You do you. And then we'll come together as a community.
That's the perfect setup for my next question. I was wondering, you both bring different, strengths and sets of your own unique sets of diversity to your business partnership and relationship. How has that served you in your relationship? Like those differences, how has that, created like a stronger collaboration?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you have to work through a lot more things. We've been around through some rough times in society. And so, we just have to have each other's backs constantly. And I think that'll make us stronger. It's like any relationship. You work at it, and there's tears, there's happy times, there's crazy times, and then you move on. What do you think, Sonya?
Exactly. Melissa and I call it courageous conversations. I'll say like, Mel, we have to have a really courageous conversation, and we know that that's going to be a conversation that we both have to be vulnerable. And we've had some very vulnerable conversations, but what I like about it, this is the key that I like about it. No matter how the conversation goes, we both know that we mean well for one another. So if something that Melissa says to me, it hurts me, I know it's not coming from a bad place. It's not coming from a place to intentionally hurt me. It's coming from a place to make our relationship stronger. And that's what we pivot off of. And I think that's what any relationship pivots off of. We joke about it because being a business partner, it's almost like a marriage. We share bank accounts. We share some pretty tight things. So you have to have that mutual respect. And even we know when it's time to give each other space. We know when it's not a good time to call Sonya right now. She's got some family stuff going on, and we respect that space. And Melissa texts me, "Are you good? You good right now?" Or when the girls are getting ready to go back to school, I know that's her time, so I respect that time, right? And that's her putting it together. So I think it's all about respect and giving each other space and having courageous or critical conversations, and being vulnerable and putting it on the table, and being woman enough to say, okay, I was wrong right there, but I'm going to do better. We've had some of those. I was wrong, and I didn't mean to do that. And can we work past this? And forgiveness is so huge. And forgiving and not holding a grudge. Forgiving and not saying, okay, but they're going to do it again. Forgive and walk away from it. And that's what makes us strong. We've had some teary times, but we walked away from it knowing that I love her, and this is what we're going to do. And I love her family. And she loves mine. She asks about my kids, and I asked about hers. It's a family, right, Mel?
We call her Auntie Sonya. No, I think that's amazing, and I think the difference that, some people see us as business partners, some people see us and they say, oh, you're best friends. And it's a privilege to have that kind of mix together, but it makes things more complicated.
Yeah.
But yet it's still a good thing. It's still, so that's part of the reason why we started iWoman, is to say, hey, you can be business partners, you can be best friends, and we're going to give you this experience. We're going to tell you our struggles. We're going to tell you what we've been through in these situations to kind of help the entirety of womanhood, really.
Yeah.
So many women struggle with being comfortable in their own skin, right? We all talk about this. Their voice, owning their passions, owning their gifts, even being comfortable in their own bodies. My question, and I'm not sure who to throw this to. This is just like, Sonya, why don't you take this one? What's the secret, do you think, to becoming a confident, fearless, powerful woman? Like somebody who is really like, when we fully embrace who we are, inside and out.
And thank you for asking me that, because I'm really big on detoxing your thinking. It's all about how you think about yourself. And you have to start you have to be honest with yourself. And this is how I started, because I had a really bad complex about my weight, about my skin, and it took me a long time to crawl from under that. But I had to be very vulnerable, write down everything I didn't like. But then I found one thing that I liked about myself, and it was a mole. I had a mole, a sexy mole, and I worshiped that mole. Oh my God, you're so sexy. I couldn't look at the rest of my body because it was disgusting to me, and I'm being really vulnerable. But that mole was cute, and I put lotion on that mole. I rubbed it. I took care of that mole. And then I started looking at my arm. I was like, okay, that arm okay. And then I started looking at my whole body. It took me almost a year to stand in the mirror naked and it take me in. But I started loving me genuinely.
Yeah.
I love Sonya from the top of her head to the bottom of her feet, no matter the size or shape. But it took me a while to find one thing that I loved about me.
Wow.
And it's all about how I was seeing myself. And I had to change the way I thought about myself. I had to compliment myself, but it was a process. Inch by inch is a cinch. But that's how it started, one thing at a time. And I know a lot of women have problems with the way they see themselves because someone said something to us, and we repeat that over and over in our mind. What we're repeating is what someone said to us. So we have to detox that, like we detox our body from toxins. We have to detox our thinking and put the right thoughts in our mind. I record myself saying, you're beautiful, you're lovely, and I play that while I'm driving. You're the best, you're organized, you're a boss, you're doing this.
Yeah.
And that's what comes out. Whatever you put in is what comes out.
Yeah.
So I have to reprogram it.
Yeah.
People call me dumb and
It's
stupid.
like CBT.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I do that, but it took time, and it took work, and it took me being honest with myself and accepting me for who I am. So now no one can change my mind, and I don't let anybody say anything negative about Sonya. I don't even let people joke and say, girl, you crazy. No, I'm not crazy. Take that back. Don't say anything negative about me. My ears hurt when someone says negative things about me. You can't, because I'm sensitive to it, because I've detoxed my mind. And those thoughts come back sometimes, and I kick them right out because I know who I am and I love the skin I'm in.
Gosh, I love that. Oh, give me goosebumps.
It's such an inspiration. It's such an inspiration to watch you walk this. And I think you hit the nail on the head, because there's so many times where we do struggle with those inward messages. And even today you were saying, Melissa, no, you get rid of that message in your head, get rid of it. And I think one of the things that I've learned is to invest in myself, to take that time, like you were saying, Sonya, take that time, whatever it is, be silent, record yourself talking to yourself, work out those negative thoughts that have come in from people saying it to you, from you saying it to yourself, reform those neural pathways, really, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And that takes work, but that can happen. So I think the most important part for women who are listening to this is just keep going. It's a journey. Life is a journey. It's a story. And so just keep going step by step, and eventually we can get to where Sonya is, and just keep on that path and keep working towards whole body wellness, really. Yeah.
Are there more opportunities for women in dentistry and beyond, but let's focus on dentistry for the moment, to step up and take their seat at the table, to find places of leadership? I feel like there's been a shift among women in this profession. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I think, I've been in dentistry probably about 17 years now, and I've seen a huge shift just in the number of dentists who are now female owners of practices. I've seen a huge shift in CEOs, DSO leadership, those types now have pathways for women. And there's been a significant, we still have a very long way to go. Let's note that. But there's been a huge shift. And I think now as dentistry becomes more balanced in who can own dental practices, in the numbers of types of people, as more outsiders come into dentistry with startups and things like that, I think we'll see more growth in that too. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And just to tag on what you were saying, there's so many more women, which are most of the hygienists are women. You just got to say that, and most of dentists are women. And Melissa and I have seen just in our time together, more women being entrepreneurs and getting that boldness to step out and trying to find their space and trying to find their voice. And that's why this is important, what we're doing and what you're doing too, Joanna.
I love that. Sonya, does anybody else in the profession have a mission and vision like iWoman?
I think so. I think so. It would be robbery if I didn't say Ann Duffy. She is the for women in dentistry, Melissa. Yeah. She is just a mentor. Yeah. She has been there for so many women. She stepped out when no one else was stepping out, and if anyone calls her, she just cheers for you with a smile, and you can hear her smile through the phone, and she just encourages women and embraces them. I'm sure there's other ones that do that, but the one that comes to my heart that's dear to Melissa and I both, that we really look up to, is Ann Duffy, Do Entrepreneur Women. Yeah. What would you say, Melissa?
Yeah, I think so with Ann, and there's a ton of others, even in Canada. I can think of some right now that have, we couldn't do what we're doing now in dentistry without them, without the folks that have gone before us to kind of break the glass ceiling, break the barriers of being a woman in dentistry and what that means. So we have them to thank, really, for being where we are now. Yeah.
And let me tell you, the very first podcast that I was on was Jasmine Haley.
Oh, there you go.
And I remember, and I'm going to just say this, but I never seen anybody in dentistry that looks like me until I seen her doing what she was doing. So Jasmine Haley was a pioneer for me. And she was speaking back when I didn't ever see anyone speaking that looks like me. And she's paved the way for a lot of people. So it would be robbery if I didn't mention her name.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
To our female audience listening, can both of you just take a moment to share just some last few words of encouragement?
You want to go?
Yes. For any women that's listening, I would encourage you to grab a journal and detox your thinking. Just sit down in a quiet space, light a candle, take it in, and write down your toxic thoughts. Be vulnerable with yourself and work on those thoughts. And when they come into your mind, you kick them out. Just like if an intruder broke in your house, you would get them out because you don't want them to rob you. You want to kick those thoughts out because you don't want them to rob you of your destiny. So you control your thoughts, one thought at a time.
Yeah. Write down the ugly and kick it out.
That's it.
Yeah. Burn it, baby. And I would say, Joanna, I would say we've been through so much as a society over COVID. And I think many of us now, our tendency, well, maybe not you, but sometimes our tendency might be to stay home. And because we're used to that, because we went through years of isolation. And so I think if I could tell the women that are listening, get out, go to the conferences, go to the career events, go to the work events, meet new people. As a kid, I was super shy. And I remember when I went to a different high school, and then walking into ninth grade, that first day we had an open house or something, and I just took a deep breath and I said, I'm not going to be shy anymore. So I walked in, and it took a lot to get over that fear, but I went in and I just started introducing myself to everyone. And that was a breakthrough in my life. And I feel like that's where a lot of women are right now. Walk into that room unashamed and just take a deep breath and meet new people, because networking is where it's at in a career and in a personal life. Yeah. And meeting new friends can really help with mindset and self-esteem, and just take you on new journeys where you never thought would be possible.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, what can this community of women listening expect from iWoman? When will the brand launch? I mean, we're waiting with anticipation. Can you tell me, is it going to be like, do you have plans, a podcast, or what's going to be happening with that?
So we have a podcast, and so the podcast is called iWoman.
Okay.
The website is weareiwoman.com.
Yeah.
And the tagline is, do you want to say it or
You
should I
got
say
it, girl. You say it.
The tagline. So the podcast will be about unleashing your inner roar in the boardroom, the bedroom, and beyond. And so this is a whole, we're thinking of the woman as a whole person, whether you're inside of dentistry, whether you're outside of dentistry, no matter who you are, and no matter even if you own a business or not, this is going to be for you. Because we're going to talk about these hot topics and things that we deal with that sometimes, we might think that we're the only one that deals with this.
Yeah.
And then we get out there and start talking to other women and realize, oh, we're all dealing with the same thing, right? Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. We want to just get a community of powerful women in leadership and that want to be in leadership. And we want to cultivate that, because being a business owner, it's so hard, because if you're not a business owner, sometimes it's hard to understand. I don't have a 9 to 5. Mine might be 24 hours. So sometimes when my friends get off work at 9 o'clock or me at 5 o'clock, I'm not off work yet. So it's like-minded people coming together, encouraging each other and cheering for each other. So what we can look for from iWoman is a lot of surprises, some coming together, some great opportunities, and some great events. So we have some good things in store that's going to include a lot of different things. And I think something that dentistry has been needing for a long time. We're taking the lid off.
We are.
We're taking the lid off, right?
We're busting through. And, one of the things that is immediate, probably this fall, probably October-ish, is when we'll launch the podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
And right away, we'll also start to speak on stages about empowerment, women empowerment. So within dentistry and outside of dentistry, too, we've got some lined up. So that's a huge part, just getting that
really
message out there.
That's so exciting. Wow. I have chills just thinking about the power that your combined voices are going to have in the industry among women. I mean, we need this. I need it. Whether you're a business owner or not, you're part of the RDH crew, or you are, just a business owner or a doctor, it's all inclusive, right?
Yep.
Female. And you actually don't have to be in dentistry. It's beyond, too.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. Because the messages are all relevant, whether you are in dentistry or not. So thank you both so much for being on this episode of the Story Project podcast. I love you guys. You're just so authentic and real and easy to connect with, which is what my podcast is all about. If people want to stay in touch with you and follow you online, which you should if you're listening to me right now, what's the best place for them to do that?
Well, if you're interested in iWoman, you can go to weareiwoman.com. The Tooth Girl on Instagram, that's where I am. Sonya?
And Geriatric Tooth Fairy on Instagram. The Geriatric Tooth Fairy, that's me.
Awesome. And they have quite the active social presence. They're both like queens. So you need to follow them. For sure. And thank you guys for trusting Studio 88 with the iWoman brand. We are actually in the middle of your production session for all of your custom photography and video. And it's just going to be so much fun to show you the final content. So
you all are amazing.
Thank you.
I already know that.
Honored to work with you guys for sure. Well, guys, continue to be fearless in your endeavors and in life. And thank you for just listening and watching this episode of the Story Project podcast. Thank you, Melissa, and thank you, Sonya. I love you guys.
We love you.
Thank you. We love you too.
See you guys soon.
Bye.